Hi, Jimmy. How you doing?
What's up, man? Long time no talk.
Yeah, so, you know me, I always find myself in trouble, so here I go again.
Well, I don't think it's trouble. I just think it's more of what you dealt with since your Atkins days.
Same exact pattern again.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to talking to you on my podcast.
Since mid-2015, there's been about 20 papers that have been published on septic shock. Septic shock is when people come to the ICU and pretty much on death's door. And so this guy in Virginia, his name is Dr. Paul Merritt, wrote out about a paper about using a combination of vitamin C or ascorbic acid, steroids, and thiamine. And what he found in his patients, mortality rates fell from 40% to 8%.
Wow.
And unfortunately, he was destroyed in the press. A la Dr. Atkins. Sounds familiar, huh?
Yeah.
One of the criticisms they had is that they tried to redo the study and they didn't see organ failure markers get better, but mortality still dropped. I kind of think mortality is the bigger marker, don't you?
Of course. If they're not dead, they're still here.
And I just found another study that was just replicated at Children's Hospital in Chicago. It was published just in January, and they did a study. So the mortality in their study dropped from 28% to 9% in children. And what they found is when they gave steroids by themselves, the mortality rate was 30%. So steroids by themselves did not solve the problem. How it works, and this is the interesting part, is when you look at patients in the ICU or intensive care unit, 88% of them have low vitamin C levels.
Right.
And what's interesting is vitamin C is needed in order for the immune system to work. I mean, I think we know that from Linus Pauling. What's interesting about it and what people don't understand is when you combine vitamin C and steroids, there's a synergistic effect. That steroid enhances the effect of vitamin C, and vitamin C enhances the effect of steroids. And what's interesting is they share a channel. It's called the sodium vitamin C transport channel. What happens is when you have a lot of inflammation, and remember the problem in COVID-19 is this inflammation storm, right? You hear about that people are dying very quickly.
Right.
Is they're getting overwhelming inflammation. And what happens is when you use that together, that is incredibly effective in dropping that storm. The reason they add thiamine to that, thiamine clears something called lactic acid.
Mm-hmm.
You know about anaerobic respiration, right?
Right.
So when the body is in a hypoxic state, you get anaerobic respiration and your body builds up acid. That was the confusion with ketoacidosis, right, of all those years, and confusing that with ketones. So what happens is thiamine actually, through the Krebs cycle, clears out lactic acid. Together, they're a very effective treatment in clearing out inflammation. And I think the confusion in this whole disease is everyone is so focused on the virus, but the virus really is secondary because at the end of the day, 80% of people don't die from the virus, right?
It's the immunity of it all.
It's the immune, exactly. It's your own immune system going haywire that's killing you.
If anything, Keith, this is exposing just how unhealthy we are collectively as a society. I see this as an opportunity, at least for the keto, low-carb message to get out there, and maybe this will be the wake-up call that'll get people to take it more seriously.
You know what's going to happen out of this? I think there's going to become such a distrust of doctors, and people are going to realize in order to survive, they need to do this on their own. He looked at studies from China, and what they showed is China took his protocol and added zithromax, hydroxychloroquine. Interesting enough, they added melatonin, which helped the hydroxychloroquine and zithromax work. Isn't it interesting?
Is it the gut health connection, Keith, that makes the zinc? Because we know zinc is connected to stomach acid and obviously a lot of other purposes in the body, immune system-wise.
Yeah.
Is that what it's doing?
The treatment for the COVID side effects that come from gastrointestinal is zinc. 100% correct what you're saying. That's so true. So the zinc has a synergistic effect. And the other thing they sometimes use is quercetin. Quercetin actually stops what they call the heat shock proteins, or a lot of the inflammatory proteins that come out of this.
Right.
So he put this whole model together. He's at East Virginia Medical School. So they have only had 4 cases. And the last case he had was earlier this week. It was an 86-year-old man who came in on 100% oxygen. Okay? What do you think the chances of his survival is?
You would think he wouldn't survive this week.
Right. 3 days later, his interleukin-6, which is one of the main inflammatory markers, dropped from 46 to 2.
Whoa. Can I ask you, did that patient, do you know, did they have type 2 diabetes?
Heart disease.
So yeah, a form of insulin resistance.
No, but that's not the problem with the heart disease. You know what the problem is?
What?
It's the medication.
So he's taking a medication that was making his immune system
weaker. And I'll get
weaker.
to that in a second. Hold that thought. I will tell you that at the end.
Okay.
So let me tell you about the doctor in Houston. He's had 14 patients very sick with COVID-19. All 14 survived. His name is Joseph Barone. I don't know if you've been watching New York. One of the big aspects in New York is that people with COVID-19, they're ending up on the ventilator from 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
He's cut it down to less than 48 hours, and he sees a response within 6 hours. Only if you start immediately. What he's done is they forgot about the virus and focused on the inflammatory storm, and that's what's killing people. The controversy is steroids increase virus replication. That's why people are afraid to use them. But who cares? The point is that you don't want the patient to die. So what if the virus stays in their body? Doesn't matter. So they're all focused on the wrong end. Then I got to another doctor. University of Wisconsin has used it in Madison. And then finally I got to a doctor in my neighborhood at Northwell in New York. It was actually published in the Daily Mail.
That's a tabloid in the UK.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, and the New York Post. So the two papers that cared about health published something.
Yeah.
The two tabloid papers. New York Times on the other end. Book the New York Times writer. She shot me down. So in North Shore, they've not been able to use the steroid, but of 90 patients, none have died. I mean, to me, that's a game changer.
That is incredible, Keith. I definitely look forward to talking to you in full about this on the podcast. I think we could easily fill an hour at least talking about all these intricacies.
I'm not done. There's one more part.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
So this is the part that you asked about. So how does the virus get in?
Yeah.
You were saying about diabetics and hypertensive. What do diabetics and hypertensive share together?
Insulin resistance.
No, but what else?
High inflammatory markers.
No, they're all on ACE inhibitors and receptor blockers, right?
Right.
Every diabetic and hypertensive, what are they on?
So it's the medication that's weakening their immune system?
ACE2. No, the ACE receptor site. That's what the virus attacks onto. Women actually naturally have higher ACE2 levels, so they're more impervious to that.
Are most of the cases of COVID-19 people dying, is it mostly guys?
Yes, it's about double. 2 to 1.
2 to 1.
Number 2 is the highest mortality rate. Guess what group is number 1? Like you said, cardiovascular, 10%.
Yeah.
And so guess what improves these levels? Vitamin D. But guess what vitamin D doesn't work when you don't have enough vitamin C? So it's all interlinked.
There's a symbiotic relationship, yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Atkins must be smiling today and probably yelling at me, don't fuck it up. This is a crossroads that we'll never see again. This is where every type of medicine matters. And then I think where people falling short in both the alternative community and in the conventional community is they're hung up on their own way.
Right.
And this is war. This is not time for that. This is time to throw whatever you can at it.
Well,
as long as you don't harm someone.
There's real lives at stake, and I think that's what makes this so crucial and so timely.
Yeah. My frustration is I've had very little luck with doctors. I have a lot of political connections, so I've been going that way. Brazil is adopting it. Can you imagine I got Brazil to adopt it over United States and New York?
Wow.
And the doctor from East Virginia sent a letter to the state commissioner of New York, and he ignored it. And I actually called, and actually one of my patients texted Andrew Cuomo for me, who knows him, and no response. And he just tweeted this morning, almost 1,000 people in New York have died already.
Oh, yeah. They're saying it's kind of the epicenter in the United States, along with Miami, Florida, of where these outbreaks are happening. Well, man, I definitely want to talk to you more about this on the podcast. I've admired your work, as you well know, for many years, and I have a little bit of a platform. We can get the message out for you.
But you care. That's the platform.
And I do care, always.
Does it make all sense
together? It does, and it's not surprising to me. I've been in this space, as you well know, a long time. You've been in it much longer than me. It's just amazing to me. It all comes back to nutrition and adequate nutrients in our diet. Duh.
And by the way, guess what Dr. Atkins giving years ago? Intravenous vitamin C.
Oh, yeah. Did he do like 24 mil like they're doing now with this thing?
No. So here, they're giving 1.5 grams 4 times a day, so it's 6 grams a day.
Right.
We were doing 20 to 25 grams at a time.
Wow.
He was right again.
Yeah. His Dr. Atkins Health Revolution, I remember reading that and going, I've never heard of any of like chelation therapy. I've never heard of any of this stuff. So he was way ahead of his time, that's for sure. And it keeps, bearing itself out.
Cool. Well, have a good day and everything. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, man. Thank you.